Glad to have you stay tuned with us. It's still Business Breakfast on iBrandTV. Let's get talking now in our first interview conversation. The International Monetary Fund has maintained its 2023 growth forecast for Nigeria at 3.2% and 3% for 2024, the same figure it had projected for the country in April 2023. Now, the Washington-based institution, in its recently released World Economic Outlook titled Near-Term Resilience, Persistent Challenges, also predicted that Sub-Saharan Africa would experience a decrease in growth, projected at 3.5% in 2023, followed by a recovery to 4.1% in 2024. Similarly, it estimated that Nigerian growth rate prospects for 2023 and 2024 were anticipated to gradually decline, aligning with the projections made in April, primarily due to security concerns in the oil sector. According to the IMF, the global economy is on track, but not yet out of the woods, adding that economic growth showed near-term resilience amid persistent challenges. The IMF further explained that the global economy continues to gradually recover from the pandemic and Russian invasion of Ukraine, stressing that in the near term, the signs of progress are undeniable. Joining me now live virtually from the United Kingdom to give us more insight into this development is a global financial and investment analyst, Benga Ogunriola. Mr. Ogunriola, good morning. Many thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me with you today.
First, let's start our conversation with your reaction to the Global Economic Outlook by IMF. What will you say concerning the figures rolled out by the IMF?
These figures are projections, really, of what they believe the global economic outlook will be in the year 2023. Earlier, they had made some projections in April, and this recent one coming up recently, it's another one that they just made. And what we can see from these projections is that there is a gradual recovery generally in the global economy. Some of the highlights of these forecasts is that they project that in the year 2023, that the global economy would decline by about 3%. In 2022, it declined by about 3.5%. Another forecast is that they believe that the global inflation rate will be about 6.7% this year, as against the 8.7% that it was in the year 2022. Some of the things they are also looking at is the fact that there are some good projections that we can see from their forecast. For example, they are talking about the Ukraine war, that because of the way it's been able to be curtailed, we won't be having the kind of shock that we had in the year 2022. And they believe that all things being equal, as long as the war is curtailed, there will be some level of recovery. There's also the positive side of the debt ceiling issue that was resolved in the US recently, which could have also had a ripple effect on the global economy. That also is a positive side. Then also the financial risk that was also curtailed earlier this year when we had some banks, having crisis. Major banks like Credit Suisse and also the Silicon Valley Bank. The various central banks were able to quickly come to their aid and stabilize the system, which, if that had not happened, would have caused a global crisis, a systemic crisis generally, because when something affects a sector of a major economy, it will snowball into other economies. So that also is a positive side that projections made.
All right, thank you for that insight.
side, we have the fact that there could still...
Go ahead with your submission. Okay, Benga Kunri.
Yes, sorry, I think the network. So, like I was saying, on the flip side, we have the fact that there could be escalation of the Ukraine-Russia war, and also there's the issue whereby we could still face some systemic risk as a result of the general tightening of global economy. A lot of government and central banks, have been raising their interest rates, and that in itself too has its own risk implications, on the economy. So further tightening and raising of the interest rates could also be another issue, in the bid to curtail the rising inflations generally.
All right, thank you so much for that insight there. But let's talk, let's just stay a bit on the global economy. The IMF has projected a large share of growth in 2023 will come from emerging markets and developing economies with broadly stable growth of 4 to 4.1% in 2023 and 2024 respectively. Now, my question for you now is, what is mainly driving the growth for China and India, in your opinion?
Yes, so when we look at China and India, they've been able to stabilize their economy. That's one. Another thing that they've been able to do is they've been able to stimulate production in these economies. And because of that, now we know India as a world power when it comes to technology, when it comes to healthcare, and that has been working out for them. They've been able to, to carve out a niche for themselves in that area. China too, when it comes to manufacturing of goods, you see that even the developed economies, they still rely on them for some cheap products. So you discover that they've been able to stabilize their economy. While, for example, inflation has been on the rise in many economies. In India, currently, the inflation rate in China, the inflation rate is zero. So that has been able to, help them to stabilize. And when other economies are jacking up interest rates, you discover that these two economies, their interest rate has been stable compared with what it has always been.